Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here and welcome back to the workbench, and it's time for another unboxing. So let's take a look at this, the i5 Early from ICM. Join me in this video as I get inside this box and see what this particular model kit is like. Starting on the front of the box, we've got this rather attractive image of the i5 in flight, possibly at dawn or dusk. It's a rather striking image because it's all red, and that's what stood out when I saw this in an online shop. Up here we've got the item number, which is 72052. Other than that, we've not got a great deal of information on the front of the box. So let's flip over and see what we've got on the back. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so how about on the sides? On this long edge we've got a bit of information from ICM saying that this kit is suitable for those aged 14 and older. A very nice drawing of the aircraft in its red livery, and then the same information as on the front. Flipping over to the other side, we've got some more of the same information, but we've also got here some information regarding the length. So being 1/72nd scale, it's not going to be a particularly big model. Tells us that it's 95mm long, it has a wingspan of 134mm, and there are 49 parts included, along with instructions and decals. So let's get inside the box and see what we've actually got. So the cardboard sleeve is a bit of a struggle to get off. Easier said than done. There we go. And with that done, you're met with a plain cardboard box. Nothing particularly exciting there. So let's open this one up. There we go. So nice and neatly packaged in here. Instructions, parts, and decals. As per usual in my unboxings, we'll take a look at the instructions first. On the front page, it is simply a sprue map. Very handy having a sprue map as it helps you identify which parts are where. It also can give you an indication of what you might have missing. Down here we've got Model Master paint callouts for the different colours, but they've also given us the name of the paint, so if you want to use a different manufacturer of paint, you can identify the ones you want to use. And then down the bottom here we've got a little bit of information on how to apply the decals and some safety information. So this is actually my first experience of an ICM kit. Never built one, never owned one before, so this is all quite new to me. The pictorial instructions look to be very well drawn, but if I'm honest, the first thing I notice is that they're very busy. There's a lot going on in each step. So for step 1 here, we've got the fuselage being joined together, various details inside the cockpit, machine guns there being added. You have to cut away the fairing at the back of the cockpit depending on which version you do, because there's 2 versions included in this kit. Moving on down, step 2. Adding some more cockpit details, then step 3, adding everything to it's just a lot. There's a lot going on in step 3, isn't there? Pay attention here because depending on which version you're doing, you've either got like a gun sight or just a canopy windshield. The propeller does look that it could be free to rotate as long as you don't glue in the little pin there. Coming over to step 4, we add the 2 wings and the struts. And then down here, step 5, we are adding the undercarriage. But there's these 2 little components here which you have to scratch build. That little symbol means you have to scratch build. So probably some stretch sprue will be used to do those. And that's it. That's all of the steps. So it's not a complicated looking instruction sheet other than the fact it's very busy. I'm going to have to sit there and take my time and break these down into individual parts in order to make sure I do what I need to do. Being in black and white as well, with all these different paint callouts here just being in letters, if they've got red printing, perhaps they could have done elements of different colour coding for the actual paint callouts, but hey, I mean, it's not too bad and the drawing is pretty clear. So flipping over to the back page, we've got 2 different paint schemes. So the top one is for the first prototype of the i5 in 1930, and then the second one is for the second prototype in 1931. I'm not sure which one I want to do at the moment. This one is silver with red elements, whereas this one is red all over, but with big writing on it. So I'm not sure which one I'll do, but let me know in the comments down below, which one do you think I should do, silver or red? If I had to be honest, I think the silver one might be a little bit more interesting visually because of the two different colours, but the red one is the one on the box art, and that's what made me buy the model in the first place. Cool, so instructions done. Decals or transfers, decals, decals, water stickers, and they look really good. They are a little bit thick. They remind me ever so slightly of Academy decals. I think you can just make out there how thick they are with the film on the back. The printing though is really nice. But if these are the same as Academy decals, I do have my reservations about how well they will actually conform to the surface details of the model. But there's not too many of them, so it shouldn't be too difficult a job. I think the silver one, these red stripes and these symbols here are for the silver one, whereas the red one only has these. So if you don't like doing decals on your models, this is probably the perfect kit, because you literally, if you do the red one, you have two, and that's it. And now it's time for the main event, the plastic parts. So sealed within that plastic bag, we get 2 grey sprues and another little bag with the clear parts in. As I originally alluded to, it's not going to be a big aircraft. It's not, well, the wingspan's no longer than about 3/4 of my hand, and the fuselage there, that's only about half of my hand. So it's not a massive model that we're going to be looking at today. The plastic is a little soft. It's not as dense as other manufacturers, but it's not too bad. But the thing that I'm noticing, and I'm sure you've probably noticed it as well, is there is quite a lot of flash. The details are reasonable. There are moulded and recessed ones as appropriate. I'm not sure if that's a really smooth bit of plastic or if that's mould release. The plastic doesn't feel particularly greasy, so they don't think they've used a lot of mould release to get this out, but it might still be worth giving it a wash before you come to build it. Anyway, with that being said, let's take a closer look at these sprues. Got the rudder there. There is a lot of flash on that. That's going to need to be cut away. The fuselage there, I mean, the detail's quite nice. The 2-blade prop, again, quite a bit of flash in places on that. Engine details there, not too bad. And then the landing gear and some of the wing struts. So flipping over to the other side, the inside of the cockpit here, you can see there is a little bit of detail, which is quite nice. And let's move on to the other sprue. Tail surfaces, elements of the cockpit there, wheels, wings. This is the lower wing here, and then the upper wing here. And there's more flash on that. Machine guns, they need to be installed separately. I quite like that as a feature. And then cockpit floor there. No pilot. I've noticed there's no pilot in this, so if you want to do it flying, you'll have to dig one out of the spares box. But that's something that I can live with. Cool, so clear parts. So there's only 6 clear parts here. The windscreen comes in 2 parts. And then we've got these 2 top parts here, and I've just looked in the instructions and I cannot for the life of me figure out what they are for. I don't think we need those for this kit. They might be for the other version of the model which you can build from this kit, which I'll talk about in a minute. The clear parts actually are the best moulded ones here. They seem to be crystal clear and there doesn't seem to be any flash on them, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so not a big kit, not a long video, not got much to talk about. You get 1, 2 grey plastic sprues and a small tiny little clear one. Not many parts on there. The parts that are there are moulded to a reasonable quality, but there is a lot of flash that you're going to have to cut off or sand away. But it shouldn't be much of a challenge for someone who's got a little bit of experience. I don't know about you, but doing biplanes is a bit of a bugbear of mine. I'm not a fan of biplanes because of all that rigging. There is a reasonable set of decals. I do have my concerns that they're a little bit thick, but the printing is very, very nice. And a black and white I-5 booklet of the instructions, which, although fairly simple, it has got a little bit too much going on in some of the steps, but it shouldn't be too hard to follow as long as you take your time. I would have preferred it to be in full colour, but hey, I can live with it. So, what do I think? I think this looks like a pretty cool kit, to be honest. I mean, it's this sort of red paint scheme that got me interested in it when I saw it on the website, and that's what drew me to buy it. And speaking of buying it, how much did it cost? Well, on the particular website I was on at the time, it cost me £7.19. But I've been online today, and at the time this video was made, you can look to spend between £7 and £10 here in the UK for this particular kit. Is it worth that? Going from the mould quality, I'd say it's probably a little bit high on the price there if you're paying around £7 or £8 for it. Ideally, I'd like it to be a little bit lower, but I get that being in the UK, this is an imported product because it does come from the Ukraine. Fingers crossed it doesn't turn out to be too much difficult to build. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the kit. So this particular version here dates from 2003, where it was a new tool. It has been released a number of times since 2003. The only difference really being that the box has changed. Everything inside has remained the same. However, there is a later version. This being the I-5 early, there is a later version which has an extra part for the engine cowling, which marked a more production version of the aircraft. Anyway, like I said earlier, it's this rigging here that kind of puts me off building biplanes. I have tried rigging a number of times with different aircraft, and I do sort of have a method where I use invisible thread, but I did buy something recently specifically for this project, and it's some of this rigging thread, which is incredibly elastic. So I'm looking forward to actually having a go with this and seeing how well I do the rigging. And the people I've got to thank for this are my patrons and channel members here on YouTube and over on Patreon. A massive thank you to these guys on screen who allow me to continue buying new things to review and to build my kits with. If you want to know more about how to get involved, take a look at the links in the description. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome a couple of new members. As a YouTube skill level 1, we've got Gary, and over on Patreon, who joins us in the advanced tier, we've got Riley. Thanks guys, and welcome to the club. Anyway, I think it's time to wrap this one up. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think of this kit? Is this something that you get for yourself? And don't forget to let me know which version I should do. Should I do the red one or should I do the silver one? If you're new here and you want to see more modelling videos, make sure you click that subscribe button, and that little notification bell just lets you know when I upload a new video. If you want to see more of my work, you can take a look in the description box, and there are links to my social media accounts. Finally, the last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this video, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.